Hey everyone, thank you so much for taking your time to watch our second coaches training video. We're so thrilled to have you guys with us and for all the work that you do. So here's some things that we are going to be going over today. We are going to look at what makes a good chess club, some incentives and communication, regionals that are coming up right around the corner and how to register for them, and then looking at team selection for regionals as well. So interclub tournaments and some chess ladders and ranking styles. And then we are also going to go over some new highlights from this past year and some changes coming up. And also the lessons, where you should be at, where we are going, and some extra resources for everyone. So we will go ahead and kick this off with Michael. What makes a good chess club?
So when we discuss what makes a good chess club, I want to have a disclaimer first. Some of the elements that we're going to talk about are general in nature. So it doesn't mean that if you don't have all of these pieces that you don't have a good chess club. Also, there might be things that you're doing that actually makes your chess club successful that we may not mention. So just wanted to make sure that you take this and look at it and pick whatever you need out of it, but don't let it be something discouraging for you. So let's start off on the things that we feel. And again, the reference point that I'm using is chess clubs that I've seen and also chess clubs that I've had as a coach. So let's go on to the next slide and we can begin to have this discussion. So first, it is critical for your club to be successful to have the kids buy into the notion that chess club is important. They have to show up every day. I know that some chess clubs allow some people to come to only one day, one session of the week, or and so on, but then there are gaps in terms of not only the lessons and what they're learning, but gaps in terms of their relationships with their fellow players. So if at all possible, try to get them to come to the 2 days every week. And then when they're there, we want to have them participate in all activities. That it would include just um, being part of the discussion, raising their hands, offering their point of view, even if they feel that they don't know a lot. Take any comments, encourage and praise them for whatever they do to participate. And then finally, have fun. We want all the students to have a good attitude about chess. We don't want anybody to come to the club and say something like, I don't want to play chess today. Well, really, why would they be there? That would not be something that we want kids to kind of feel that they could do. We want them to always be there and prepared, not only to participate on their own, but also to help others. It's hard if there's like no partner and you can engage because somebody's missing. So encourage them to come every day with a good attitude and to have fun. So let's go on to the next slide. We know that many coaches are interested in student success, and I'm sure all of you are. But sometimes we can put a lot of focus and a lot of emphasis on winning and winning games to the point that kids are afraid to try. They're afraid to take chances, to take risks. Well, in chess club, risk taking should be encouraged. We want all the students to feel that they can make mistakes and that they can try and nobody's going to put them down for it. And we're going to encourage them to learn from their mistakes if they're willing to talk about it. Sometimes they don't want to learn right then when they make the mistake. So we might pick it up at a different time and ask them later on, is there anything that you could have done differently? So we want them to feel that it's a safe place. Chess Club is a safe place and that they are allowed to try things, even if it, at times it doesn't work out. Because really, that's how young people learn. They learn by a lot of trial and error. They process through effort. And so if we discourage effort because they're not always getting the right answer, then we discourage learning. And finally, whatever they do, it might be small to us. somebody might say something like, "Oh, Mr. Malone, I got this checkmate," or "Coach, I was able to get a fork." And if we just kind of have this low-key response to it, "Oh, that's good, go ahead and play," then they're not going to see that as a moment that was important to them, and that you saw it as a moment that is important to them. So we want to always really celebrate these successes in the moment. And with that in mind, we cannot, as coaches, just watch our kids from afar. Like when they're playing their games, we can't be sitting around reading the newspaper or on our phone. That is not cool. We need to be in the mix. Sometimes we're playing a game against a kid, that's good, but most of the time, we're watching all the games and seeing if there are times to encourage them, to challenge them, to inspire them. So we should be walking around the room all the time, looking at each game, making a suggestion from time to time. That's the way we build confidence. The next slide. When I was a coach, I really invested a lot in forming relationships with all the people in the school that were not necessarily connected to chess. We tried to have posters up when we were going to be doing tournaments so that the whole school would know. We tried to have what we were doing in our newsletter so that the teachers, the principal, the parents, these days they have like a online newsletter that goes out. Well, put in a story or two about how your kids are doing. Ask them to ask the parents to give you some feedback as to how chess is helping them, and make it so that the teachers can also know. Sometimes teachers are more of an inspiration to kids than us. I remember when I would have tournaments, and as you can see here, all of the staff would come to our tournaments. They would drop in from time to time. And as much as I'm trying to coach and trying to encourage them to do better, they would just light up when their teacher comes or their principal comes to the tournament. It made their day. Whether they were doing well or not, they wanted to share what they were doing. So if we can at any point make chess more accessible to those in the rest of the community, in the school, to these various ways, it really is a way that our club will be supported and would add to our success. So let's look at another slide. Within the year, we should build in different celebrations that will allow students to feel that whatever they're doing is being seen, recognized, and rewarded. For example, we haven't done this as much, but we would like to get back to it. When, for example, you have a class that has learned all the pieces, we could have a King's party where we get those little cookies that are shaped like chess pieces, and we have some snacks, and we celebrate all the ones who have actually gone from not knowing what a pawn is to knowing all the names of the pieces and knowing how they move. So that's board celebration. Then during the course of the year, we find ways to encourage kids to try their best in each game. So we have like raffle tickets, for example, that we give when kids really accomplish a particular skill, like maybe castling or a fork or a skewer, something chess related. We get to put a little raffle ticket in the raffle drawing box. And then we bring these prizes. Either you can come up with prizes and Chess for Success will help reimburse you, or what I do for the clubs that I have is I bring prizes that I know they will be excited. All from the dollar store, but still, some things that they really get excited about. And that one time, I did a raffle drawing just this week, and everybody was excited to get picked. Not all got picked, but they were excited when they got picked. And then at the end of the year, sometimes we celebrate with a party. We have chess movies. Your regional coordinator can recommend a few movies that you can show and have some snacks and treats just to kind of look back at the year and say, look at what we did. We came from this point in October and look at where we are now at the end of the chess year, and really celebrate some success that you've had. One particular way that kids get excited in regard to chess club after the regional tournament, because sometimes if you didn't make it to the state finals, there's kind of a downer. People are kind of wondering, well, what do we do now? Well, there is this very exciting levels tournament that we have that, and we're going to talk about a little bit in detail later, but this particular tournament is something that all clubs can do, and students can actually get rewarded at their own pace. They earn certain levels and you get a reward after they do. And they kind of go ahead with these levels and all mixed in, challenging each other until they get to the top of the levels ladder. So again, the point that we're making here is that chess should not just be learning and challenging. It should also be exciting. And when we add some incentives and fun activities to chess, it makes the chess club more successful and it makes the kids want to be there. Next slide. And at the end, success. Now, in this particular case, success is measured here in the clubs that I had through tournaments and sometimes being successful in winning the tournaments, but that's not how we measure success in chess. We measure success on a very personal level. Is your child, is your player happy to be there? That's success. Did they learn something? Did they make friends? See, these are other ways that we get success. Now, those kinds of little ladders of success actually lead to this other success in being successful in the greater community and maybe doing well at tournaments. So success should be translated not just to chess, but success in life. So that's what we're aiming for, that they feel that this confidence that they have gathered from playing this very interesting game now leads to their confidence in all other things. Next slide. So we are getting ready for the tournament season. And the last aspect of making sure that our clubs are successful is that we communicate. We send out as regional coordinators lots of emails, texts, phone calls, and sometimes we may wonder whether people are even hearing us. But we are not only interested in sending things, we want to hear from you. We want to know, for example, do you know when and where your tournament is? We made a real effort to provide that information early on so that your parents can know, so that you can know, so that you can start preparing for it. And when it comes to anything that you're doing, for example, we're going to talk about getting a team ready for that tournament. Well, we would like to help you with that. You need to communicate with us as to how that is going. So please, don't feel that it would be too much. Communicate with us regularly, all the time. So let us know where you are in the process. Do you have your team yet? Do you need some help in that process? And do you need help with permission slips when you've selected a team? All of these things are areas where we can help you, but we can't help you if we don't know what you need. So please don't feel that you're bothering us, you're a burden or anything. Do what you can to let us know what's going on, what you need, when you need it, and we'll try to help. So again, these are just a few things. There are many other things that can make your club successful, but we wanted to give you an idea of the things you should strive for. And whatever else you're doing that helps to make chess exciting, continue to do it. So thank you for that. I think that's the end of my portion. You want me to introduce Daniel? He's going to talk about regional tournaments.
Thank you, Michael. My name is Daniel Valdez, and I am the regional coordinator for the Hillsborough School District, as well as the Salem-Keizer District. And today I will be talking to you about our upcoming regional tournaments. Next slide, please. First, we might as well go over the tournament practices that we had in the fall and early winter. So we had a few of them generally in the Portland, Centennial, and Vancouver area. I believe we had almost close to a dozen practice tournaments. But the real important thing is we had over 400 students participate in this tournament. And that is an amazing turnout, which really shows how important this is to all the schools and to these students' lives. Next slide, please. So for regionals, you might have some questions like who participates, how many players per team, how do you register, and well, the most important thing, chess clocks. So let's begin. So first, those who participate will be those chosen by the coach. We are allowed to take 10 players with 2 alternates. Now, for registration, currently we register on the CFS website, but we are rebranding and going to be launching a new website come February. So I would highly advise for you to start selecting your students that would participate at regionals and sign up as early as possible. So that way you don't get jumbled up between one website and the other. And during this time, it is very important to have a clear and constant communication with your regional coordinator in case you have any issues, especially when it comes to signing up, as if it's your first year, it might be a little bit difficult. Now, for chess clocks will be used for both our regionals and our state tournaments. If you haven't had a lot of practice yet, I would highly recommend reach out to your regional coordinator, see if they can bring you some clocks, and we're happy to supply them, lend you a few. That way you can get a few practices in so that your students can get used to how to use clocks. Next slide, please. So for regions and dates, I have a few for everyone here to listen to. So our very first regional tournament will be on February 10th, and this is going to be for Region 15. I believe this is a coastal region. And then afterwards, we also have another one on February 10th for Region 18. February 17th, we're going to have 2 of them. These ones are going to be at Allendale Elementary and Chief Joseph. Allendale is Region 19, and Chief Joseph is 1 and 2. Moving on to the next weekend, we actually have 6 regional tournaments, and that is going to be Fabian K through 8, which is Region 6, and then Ridgeview High School, which is Region 21, Talmadge Middle School, which will be Region 13, another one at Talmadge Middle School, which will be the Region 13th and 16th, and then Klamath Union High School will be Region 22, and then Hermiston High School will be Region 20 and 23. Then we have a little bit of a break, which will be moving on. On March 2nd, we only have 1 regional tournament, which is Marysville Elementary, and it is Region 3 and 4. Then moving on to the next one, on March 9th, we'll have 3 regional tournaments. One will be at Belinda Elementary, and this is Region A. On March 9th, we'll have Open Door Christian Academy, which is Region 5 and 7. March 9th, we'll have one at Willamette High School, which will be Region 17. And then the very last regional tournaments will be on March 16th, and that is going to be South Meadows Middle School, which is Region 11 and 12. And then Alberta Ryder Elementary, which is Region 8 and 9. And then another one at Alberta Ryder, which is going to be Region 10. And after this, we'll have a few weeks break where we'll be basically practicing again so we can get ready for our state tournaments. And next slide, please.
Thanks,
And I will
Daniel.
now pass it on to Patty.
Thank you so much for that, Daniel. So as you guys get ready for the regional tournaments, your team selection is going to be one of the most important things and time-consuming things that you are going to need to work on. So here I'm going to be talking about our intra-club tournament, or maybe you've heard it before as a 3 before 10 tournament. This is a really great and fair way for your students to earn a spot on the regional team while still keeping the entirety of your club engaged. I also want to note that this intra-club tournament, this should be taking you about 2 to 3 weeks. This is not something that is going to be done in just a day. So kind of looking at what we have going on here. you guys, if you choose to do this, you can ask your regional coordinator and we can provide you with a scorecard. Those of you who have been to our tournament practices before, you'll recognize this looks darn near the same. So you'd have your player name and assign them a player number, and you as the coach would help to be assigning your players and recording the scores. So for the 3 before 10, what that means is for every points or every 3 games that are won, you provide some kind of incentive to the students. So maybe like chips and a drink. And please remember, if you are purchasing these incentives out of your own pocket, submit a reimbursement to us so we can make sure to reimburse you for those. We want to make sure that any expenses related to chess are being covered and not coming from you guys. So part of why we do an incentive after every 3 wins is this is really going to help encourage the stamina of your students in continuing to play and help offset some discouragement. You know, we know how hard it can be if maybe you've lost 3, 4, 5 games and you finally get one and then you lose another. It's like, oh man, you know, that's tough. And it's sometimes hard to keep our students going. But as we get into regionals, and those are longer days, especially those of you who've been there before, you know. So we want to make sure we are encouraging our students to keep going. So the first person who makes it to 10 points ends up as the winner of this intra-club tournament. The next 9 players are also people who will have just earned a spot for the regional team. You can also have up to 2 alternatives. So if you end up with any ties, you can also do, you know, another game for a tiebreaker, 1-on-1, or a best 2 out of 3. So this is one way that's great for you as coaches and for your students to, again, just make sure that your team selection for regionals is fair and equitable and keeping your whole club engaged. And I will pass it off to Chris talking about a chess ladder.
Thanks, Patty. And the chess ladder is a very similar approach to preparing for regionals, just a bit more of an organic format. And so, Patty, if you could take me to the next slide, we're going to break down exactly how the chess ladder actually functions. And it starts off with just a basic ranking system. So whenever you first get together with your club, you'll essentially just rank all the students in your club on a skill level. And you'll kind of put your best players, obviously, at the top, your intermediate, and then your beginner players. So you create basically a tiered system within which you can rank your players. And Patty, can you take me to the next slide, please? And so then once you've established where everybody is on their levels, it's then time for them to compete against each other. And the way that it works is that students who are on the lower end of the ladder get to challenge the students who are above them. And so let's say you've got 30 kids in your chess club and number 22 really wants to climb higher up the ladder because they want to get to that regional tournament. So they want to get within like the top 10, top 12 students. All they have to do if they're number 22 is challenge somebody above them. They can choose to challenge somebody who's 1 space above them in 21 if they want to just climb 1, or they can be ambitious and go for maybe one of the top players at the club, say like number 4, number 5. You know, if they're looking to make a big splash, then they can challenge other players. And it works this way up and down the ladder. So let's say if number 5 is like tired of sitting at number 5 and really wants to take on the number 3 player, then they can absolutely challenge that player. And so depending upon how they win and perform in these challenges against each other, you'll adjust their levels. And so it's a fluctuating, like organic thing that can take place throughout your chess year. And can you take me to the next slide, please, Patty? And so then once you've had these games kind of competing throughout the year, you've gotten like a pretty settled chess ladder. Once you get closer to the regional chess year, then you become really focused on that final 12. Your 2 alternates and the 10 that you get to take to compete in the tournament. And so like Patty mentioned before, you can do like the intra-club tournament, or you can also just utilize your chess ladder, and you can use that chess ladder to decide who gets to come along to the tournament. My favorite way to do it personally is to have the chess ladder going and then hold one final intra-club tournament just to give some kids who maybe haven't had the opportunity to challenge kids above them, or if they want to take on just like somebody that they haven't played before. It's always a really good opportunity for kids to get in a final tournament within their club before they go off to regionals and compete against kids that they've never played against before. And so basically the chess ladder is essentially just a tiered way for the students to be engaged in your club and know where they are relative to their other players. It's a good way for them to keep gauge of like their own skill level, and also just a wonderful way to like get some buy-in and some enthusiasm from the kids, because everyone knows that the kids want to be the best, or they want to be better than that one person who's like beaten them 3 or 4 times already this year. And so utilizing the chess ladder is just a really great way to really drive up the engagement in your club, and then have like a really equitable way for choosing who gets to go to regionals. And I'm now going to pass it on to Anne, who's going to talk us through some of the publicity things.
Thanks, Chris. All right, so we have some exciting stuff on the kind of communications, marketing, that side of stuff. The biggest thing is that we are rebranding and we are making a new website with that. So as you can see in the middle on here is our new logo. I personally love our new logo. I think it's just fun. But also I kind of wanted to just tell you guys the rationale behind it. As you can see, it's still night, so we're still keeping our main logo kind of intact. The knight is our symbol, but one of the main things that we did is we took away its graduation cap. And kind of the reasoning for that is that the graduation cap was there to symbolize the educational aspect and how we really wanted to help these kids grow academically. But now that we're moving into a more holistic approach, and we're wanting not only to develop these students academically, but we're also wanting to work on their social emotional intelligence, their community, you know, their mindfulness, all that stuff. We decided to just move into just the knight to represent just chess. All right, cool. So that's that. And the next thing is the website. So with the new logo, we're also doing a new website. I think that you guys will all really benefit from the website in the long term. Our goal with it is to make everything more accessible, more easy to navigate. And then hopefully we will also be able to just keep it more up to date, because I know that is a problem we have with our website right now, is it is often not up to date. Which then does not make it a super helpful resource for you. And we want all of our coaches to have the best resources. So we're starting the new website. With the new website, we'll have the new logo, the new colors on there. But then another thing with keeping the website up to date is we are always looking for pictures. We're looking for stories. We're looking for successes of your kids, really any of that. We use all this information in our newsletters. We use it in our grant applications, which help us fund our programs and, you know, keep them free for most kids. So the grants are really important, and those use stories, the newsletters use stories, also just on our social media. Basically, I will use stories for everything. I will use pictures for everything. So please, 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 if you have anything, even if it's just a little story about a kid winning their first game or a really good act of sportsmanship that you saw, please send me an email, just ann@chessforsuccess.org. I would love to see it. All right.
Thanks so much for that, Anne. So kind of tying into this and helping with, you know, our publicity and how we are advertising to other people, you should also be having fun ways to advertise to your school. So a lot of you guys already got t-shirts from us, or if you haven't gotten them, they are coming in the next couple of weeks. So doing a t-shirt day with your club before your regionals is a great way for your team to feel pumped up and ready, get other people in the school excited and involved. I know Michael mentioned earlier as well, you can put up posters around the school. Maybe you take some time during one of your club days to make posters so that other students and families and teachers and staff, all those other support people, they can know what's going on and be there and help show up. Another great way is looking at your school newsletters. You know, you can submit a small story to them or pictures there. Just getting the word out about the chess club so that other people know and can get excited and maybe even get involved. And so another good way to advertise to the public outside of, you know, what we're trying to do with our website is looking at some celebrations for your students. So we've got, most schools have, you know, some kind of trophy case or award display for students and teams who have won trophies. That's a great spot for those to go. I personally have seen at most of my schools have some kind of Chess for Success trophy out in the front, which is so fun to see. Assemblies are also a great time where you can celebrate different students and their accomplishments in front of their peers and their friends, just getting some great recognition. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Eric talking about our curriculum.
All right. Hi, everybody. Before I get into the curriculum, I just want to first offer my thanks to the staff who work hard to support our programs and to make sure that the coaches have everything that they need. And I want to thank you coaches for the boots on the ground work that you're doing. You guys and ladies and humans are the ones who make our programs what they are. So before I get into the curriculum, just pat yourselves on the back for all the hard work you've been doing. And all the hard work you're going to continue doing. All right, next slide. So this is kind of summarizing where you should be right now in your chess year. I know that you know, we have 98 programs across the organization right now, and so not everybody is in the same exact spot. We've had some programs that were impacted by strikes, programs that have been impacted by weather closures, you know, all kinds of things. And so wherever you are in your program, when we designed the curriculum, we had hoped that all of the students by the end of December would be in a similar place. We wanted everybody to know the basic rules of chess. So the right way to set up the board, that's really important. I noticed at the practice tournament when I walked around, about 90% of the kids had the board the right way, but every now and then I had to shift it for them and point out the right way to set it up. Making sure that your students know how to set up the board is super important. Making sure that they know what all of the pieces are and the legal moves, how the game ends, you know, rules like castling and the touch move and all priests and the 50 move rule. Those are all things that are going to come up in the tournaments, and we want to make sure that kids know those rules. And so take a poll of your club. If they don't know the rules, make sure that you reinforce them and make sure that they get familiar with them. The other things that we covered during the first 10 weeks included, you know, introductions to mindfulness and distress tolerance and emotional regulation and communication and interpersonal effectiveness. And so students should have a 30,000-foot understanding of what those terms are, and they should start to have some practices on how they can build those skills, you know, things like the breathing exercises that we've introduced, the other activities that we've introduced. And so hopefully coaches have been following the curriculum and, you know, looking at where you are as a chess club and where you should be. You have a little bit of time to catch up, but this kind of summarizes where we want you right now. If you go to the next slide, it'll talk about some of the specific concepts that we hope have been taught already. And so again, what you're seeing here on the left-hand side is the vocabulary that's written in our curriculum. So we have a poster that's called the Wall of Fire, but there's a concept that goes with that poster, and it's all about board control and making sure that you're using your pieces to control the board and where your opponent can go. And we give the example of the two rooks checkmate. And so wherever you are, we want to make sure that all of these concepts have been covered so that when kids get ready for tournaments, that they're prepared to challenge each other and to put their best foot forward. And so you should have gone through all of these the vocabulary that we have on the left and the concepts that they relate to on the right. So just real briefly, the water and bridge exercise is all about playing for the center of the board at the opening. When we talk about getting your pieces out of Hawaii, it really talks about that your back rank pieces aren't very valuable unless you move them out, get them out of vacation. When we talk about determining what checkmate looks like, that's ABC, avoid, block, and capture. The concept of breaking eggs to make an omelet is, how do we judge whether or not it's the right time to trade pieces? When we look at candy in the road, I know that when I play with my brother, he baits me all the time. He hangs a piece out in the middle and he's like, come get it, come get it. But I know if I go for it, that he's just going to put me in checkmate. And so I have to resist grabbing the candy. So it's those kind of visuals that we're giving kids and tying them into the chess concept that really lasts. If you're just teaching them the chess without providing those visual images that they can rely on, they're not going to grasp it long term. They may get it short term, but they're not going to grasp it long term. And they're certainly not going to understand when I walk in the room and say, hey, don't grab the candy. They're not going to know what I'm talking about, and they're going to make me feel like I'm crazy. So these are the concepts and the vocabulary we're hoping that you're using. These were the places that you should be after the first 10 weeks. And now we'll talk about what's going to happen for the next 16 weeks. And so some programs have started to meet in 2024. Some programs haven't started yet. Again, everybody's at a different place. But when you come back, we want you to start by talking about the interclub tournaments and start setting up your intra-club rankings, set up your ladder system, because you're going to be spending the first 4 or 5 weeks playing in those ranking systems so that you can create your team for the regional tournaments. With that in mind, we've reduced the number of chess lessons. You're going to get 1 chess lesson per week. You can see some of the topics that are outlined there. And then most of the time for weeks 11 through 15 will just be spent playing chess and figuring out, which kids are going to qualify for the regional tournaments. In weeks 16 through 22, we are going to go into more mid-game tactics and special moves and playing a levels tournament. So the levels tournament will keep your players engaged if they didn't make the regional tournament, because they can still move up and down within their team. And we want to also give some kids, some choices for openings. We want to give them some mid-game tactics, and we want to talk to them about how they can force check and checkmate on their opponent. And so that's the areas that we'll focus in week 16 through 22. Week 23, essentially, you'll just be preparing for the state tournament. And then weeks 24 through 26, we'll do things like assessing the club. Did the kids learn? Are they better now than they were at the beginning? We'll encourage kids to keep playing and preparing for other tournaments that we're going to be sponsoring. The Portland City tournament and the Girls Play Chess tournament are going to be available to all of our students who want to play in those. And then it's also a time for you to celebrate. You've done a lot. It's been 26 or more weeks, more than 55 hours, probably a little bit of bloodshed and maybe some tears. Make sure that you celebrate with everybody. Celebrate with yourself, celebrate with your school, and celebrate with your club. And so we'll give you some time and some resources to do that in the final weeks. Can we go to the next slide? Ooh. All right, and so the final slide is, well, not the final slide, sorry. This slide's all about resources, lesson plans, and some trainings that we're offering to coaches. One thing that some coaches are using is leadchess.org, and I want to encourage all of our coaches to use that platform with their students, to introduce their students to that platform, and to ask their students to engage with that platform at home or at school within the club. There's great online chess puzzles there. There's lessons. If you're looking for some more advanced things that you can teach, there's resources for that. And so it's just a really good platform. The organization, Chess for Success, is actually hosting online tournaments using this platform. And so we can engage your kids in those online tournaments if they're wanting to do that. And then also just that I already have seen when I've gone out on site visits that some of the coaches are using this to supplement their lessons. that's totally great. I have no problems with coaches bringing in resources to help support their students. What I do want to know is, how are you going to use this tool? And it's something that I think all of our youth could benefit from. The other resource is the curriculum and lesson plans that we've developed and we continue to develop. And so you should be getting, you should have access to weeks 1 through 10 already, and you'll be getting access to subsequent weeks as they get finalized. Right now, some coaches are sending out, or I'm sorry, some regional coordinators send out weekly updates, some send out, bi-weekly updates, but you should be in communication with your regional coordinators about the curriculum, any curriculum questions you have. If you need extra support, anything like that, turn to your regional coordinators, because that's what they're there for. And then I know that I've heard from a few coaches who are not teachers that they were looking for resources on classroom management and behavior management. And so I've just listed a few here. We're going to send this out in email so that if coaches do want to do these, we can compensate you for your time, but just check in with your regional coordinator first. Let us know that you want to do the trainings. And we encourage people to develop skills in managing kids and managing in small groups. And we want to provide resources for the coaches to do that. Next slide. And then the last part of our curriculum is going to be that we will continue to focus on the 4 major skills that we've been working on developing with the kids: mindfulness, distress tolerance, interpersonal effectiveness, and emotional regulation. These are all skills that are vital to being a successful adult. And, it is super important that we're touching on these with the kids. We're telling our funders that we're presenting this information to kids. And we're really interested to see if this makes a difference, in the longer term. And so for the winter and spring sessions that are coming up, we're going to provide a list of activities that coaches can choose from that will reinforce some of these major skills. And we hope that you're spending 5 to 10 minutes at each session doing an activity that really helps the kids prepare for chess and prepare for what's after chess. And all of these skills can be beneficial for all of the people that we deal with. We're also going to provide some prompts in the curriculum for discussions that you can lead that talk about how chess relates to life. And we encourage you to have those conversations with kids. Chess for Success is a youth development organization that uses chess. So we need to make sure that we are taking time as coaches and mentoring kids to not only be great chess players, but also to develop skills that are going to help them outside of school, off the chessboard, and just in life. And that's what this part of the curriculum is intended to do. It's to meet that need. And our students have a huge need, especially coming out of the pandemic. And so we're trying to meet that need in our communities. So please support us in that effort. If you have questions about these concepts, reach out to me, reach out to your regional coordinator, and we're happy to provide other information and resources that helps you feel comfortable delivering these topics.
All right, coaches, we did it. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this training today. We are also going to have an open discussion on February 5th at 6 p.m. So please keep an eye out in your emails for an invite to that. That is completely optional, and that is a time for you as coaches, if you have more questions about regionals, about team selection, or any other things that happened in this training. This is a time for us to all get together, answer some questions, collaborate. And yeah, I hope we will see a handful of you guys there. But thank you all again so much for your time. Best of luck at regionals, and let us know if you need anything from us. Thank you.